guys, Victor here with a brand new video. And UFC Fight Night Jacksonville Part 2 will be going on tonight. Main card and prelims will be going down on ESPN Plus. So if you guys have a ESPN subscription, go ahead and definitely stay tuned to that. Main card over here in the East Coast will be starting at 9 p.m. and then 6 p.m. over the West Coast. Prelims over here will be starting at 6 p.m. on the East Coast and 3 p.m. on the West Coast. So definitely stay tuned and definitely stay alert when it comes to those times, because the prelims will be happening very, very early. Now, this event is going down here on the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena here in Jacksonville, Florida. The main event is going to be Glover Teixeira versus Anthony Smith, which is a great light heavyweight matchup, especially for our main event. Now, but this video, I really want to talk about the co-main event, which is going to be between Ovince St. Preux and Ben Rothwell, and this is actually going to be happening at heavyweight. So this will be Ovince St. Preux's debut at heavyweight, since he's been fighting at light heavyweight for his whole entire career up until this point. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. Both these guys are very experienced. Both of them have 35 plus fights in their respective careers. Ben Rothwell actually has 40 plus fights. So it's definitely got both guys that know a lot about the sport, that have been in there with some of the best in their respective divisions, and will definitely bring it tonight, and they'll definitely give it their all as well. Just to let you guys know, both these fighters have taken this fight on short notice. The fight was literally made about a week and a half ago, so they haven't had that much time when it comes to training camps, and they haven't had that much time when it comes to losing weight either. Now, the majority of the fighters got to Jacksonville in the beginning of this week. They got their swab tests up the nose, so every single fighter on this card is coronavirus free, so everything is so good so far. So I'm glad to see that those things are actually going on. Now, I just want to go over the similarities and differences between both the fighters. Now, obviously, as I just stated before, both fighters are really experienced. Both fighters have been going through ups and downs through their respective careers and their respective weight classes as well. Both fighters had won their last fights. Ovince St. Preux against Michael Olewczykov. Sorry for butchering that name. It just happens to be Polish, and you know how they have difficult names, last names. And Ben Rothwell won his last fight against Stefan Struve. That was by KO. Ovince St. Preux's victory was via submission, via Von Flue choke, which is really good at. So both these guys are coming off wins, but they've been up and down, so this fight will definitely mean a lot to them if they can pull off the victories, whoever does at the end of the day. Both these guys have power. Ovince St. Preux had a number of knockout wins, as well as Ben Rothwell as well. Both of these guys have been with the UFC for a very long time, and I just want to go over some of the differences between them, and definitely who has the advantage in which category. So I'm going to talk about the experience. Ben Rothwell has 40 plus fights in his respective career, so I'm going to give him more of the experience when it comes to that whole entire category right there. He's been in there with some of the best. He's been doing this for an extremely long time, so I got to give experience to Ben Rothwell. So when it comes to power, I'm going to have to give it to Ben Rothwell as well. He has over 20 knockout wins. I believe more than 25 knockout wins in his career. And I'm going to have to also give the submission advantage and experience when it comes to BJJ to Ovince St. Preux, just because he's just because he submitted a lot of guys during his career, and most of them have been by the Von Flue choke. He is the only one in the UFC that's ever pulled out the Von Flue choke, and he's the only one to do it multiple times. So when it comes to speed, I'm going to give that advantage over the Ovince St. Preux as well. He's pretty fluent when it comes to the feet. He has some pretty good footwork as well, and you could see that in multiple fights in the past as well. He even got to the point where he ended up fighting John Jones for the interim light heavyweight championship, even though things did not go his way. He obviously has talent, or else he wouldn't have had that opportunity. And now, even though Ben Rothwell is, the heavier guy, doesn't mean that he doesn't have his own movement as well. He can definitely move across the octagon in different ways, especially for a guy that of his size. But I'm just going to have to give the speed advantage over to OSP. And when it comes to stamina, I'm going to have to give that advantage over to Ben Rothwell just because this division is his bread and butter. He's been in heavyweight his whole entire career. When it comes to OSP, there are a couple of questions coming from light heavyweight to heavyweight. Is his stamina going to transition? Will he get tired, especially after the second round? Is his power going to transition over to heavyweight? Is he going to get better? Is he going to get worse? Will it stay the same? Um, so that those are just a couple of questions right there. And then how is he going to handle the power of getting hit by a heavyweight? Now Ben Rothwell's the type of guy that if you do give him an advantage, if you do get rocked by one of his punches, he will not let you off the leash. He will continue to keep on attacking you until he gets the knockout victory. Ovince St. Preux has been in those type of situations before in the past. He almost lost his last fight because he was knocked down, and I believe he would have lost the fight, but for some reason his opponent just stopped for some reason and looked at the referee as if he was confused. But Ovince was in a lot of trouble. He was knocked down, he was dazed, but he was able to gather himself back up and win the fight via submission. But if he does have that same situation against Ben Rothwell, then he probably will get knocked out. He most likely will get finished because Ben, like I said, he's not the type of guy that lets you off the leash. He's the type of guy to keep attacking you until he gets the finish. And he's a veteran. Both of these guys are veterans, so I doubt that if either one of them gets rocked or they're vulnerable, that the other is going to let them off the hook. And Ben Rothwell, if I were him, I'd just keep on pressuring Ovince. If he sees him getting tired, which he most likely will, since this will be his first time at heavyweight, having to carry all that weight, I just keep on walking him down, keep on pressuring him, and definitely throw off a couple of bombs right there. If Ovince tries to go for a takedown via a bear hug or a single leg takedown or a double leg takedown, at least try to stuff those and sprawl. But if you do get taken down to the ground, at least try to push yourself against the cage and try to get yourself back up. Those are some of the things I would tell Ben Rothwell if I were his coaches. But definitely pressure Ovince St. Preux no matter what, and definitely chop off some of his legs with some leg kicks as well. Just because Ovince is a pretty tall guy, both of these guys are. They're both over 6 foot tall. Definitely chop those legs down. Make sure that you damage the both of them, or at least one of them, to the point where he's having a lot of trouble trying to stand on it. And when it comes to Ovince St. Preux, if I do see those leg kicks, try to check him. Checking leg kicks is a huge game changer. Obviously, that happened for Greg Hardy a couple of days ago. He was getting blasted by leg kicks until he checked one of them and hurt his opponent via that leg check. So if I were Ovince St. Preux, I'd do that. Definitely keep the head movement as well, because Ben Rothwell is going to throw some bombs. So body movement has to be on point. So does the head movement as well. And definitely protect yourself. Keeping your guard up no matter what. Protecting your face, and definitely try to go for those takedowns whenever you do have the chance, just because they will present themselves. And if I were him, I'd go for a double leg takedown instead of a single leg. But if he does go for the single leg, he has that one leg grabbed, elevated up, and try getting that leg sweep against Ben Rothwell, and he'll definitely be able to take him down that way and try to work a submission, just because that's his specialty right there. But overall, I think this is going to be a fantastic fight. The main event's good. The co-main event's also good. The whole entire main card for me is it's a pretty good one. It's definitely a good one that the UFC was able to pull off, just because they've been making these fights a couple weeks in a row, and the majority, if not all, these fighters are coming in on short notice. Some of these fighters were supposed to fight in April, so some of these fighters, if not the majority of them, are coming in on short notice, and just a little tiny percent of them have been training since April. Some of these fighters are from the Brooklyn card that got scrapped multiple times and changed venues, so it's gonna be a good night of fights. And just letting you guys know that the UFC will be back this Saturday, same place in Jacksonville at the ViStar Memorial Arena in Jacksonville for Harris versus Overeem. That's going to be in the main event this Saturday. So, like I said, 3 fights in the course of a 7-day span period. It can't get any better than that. After that, who knows what's going to happen. There is a fight card supposed to go down on May 23rd, I believe. Now I believe the UFC is trying to change it to May 30th just to try to get more time for the venue, for the fighters that they're going to put on that card, because it hasn't been announced who's going to be on that card, and apparently it's supposed to take place in Vegas. And if I'm not surprised, I think there's a possibility that there will be. I don't know if it's going to be pay-per-view or just. Actually, no, it is pay-per-view, because every fight that goes on in Vegas just happens to be pay-per-view. So it's most likely going to be the Lioness Nunes versus Spencer, so, and some other fights on there. But I will let you guys know with more information on time. But have fun today watching some of these fights. They're definitely going to be entertaining, and I will see you guys soon. I'll continue to pop up these videos, so stay safe, stay blessed, and continue to keep on doing your things during the wake of this pandemic. So thank you guys.